Hi, and welcome back to this Wednesday edition of Focal Point on AFR Talk. Just had a couple calls in the last hour, good calls, one reminding us that the Constitution clearly gives to Congress the right to establish the rules, uniform rules of naturalization. That's their business. So the president, the executive branch, has no authority to just make up immigration rules on the fly, has no authority to make all of these decisions about allowing these children to come in, taking over military bases, turning them into basically detention camps for these unaccompanied children. It's a humanitarian crisis down there, and all of this is of the president's own making. You know, yesterday we played that soundbite where President Obama said our system is so broke, somebody's got to come in and fix this. You know, we asked the question, well, who broke it? We all agree the system is broken. Who broke it? Well, Mr. President, I think we're going to have to say that you are the one that broke it. Grab one more call before we move on with more content. Let's go to Dwight in Florida. Dwight, welcome. Brian Fisher to Focal Point. What's on your mind?
Hey, thank you very much. And I definitely want to talk about Connolly, is it?
Yeah, Chad Connolly. Yeah.
I'm gonna try to contact him and try to get him down. See, I'm in Pinellas County. You mentioned David Jolly.
Yeah.
And I don't know if people know or you know, but Pinellas County is Tampa Bay area, which is also referred to as I-4 corridor, which from being down here, I'm told elections are decided in this area. Okay, well, to start off with, it shows that there's enough Republicans to bring in David Jolly for his message of the immigration and all that. Also, he ran against Alex Zink, a very disposal of what they thought. Alex Zink ran against the Republican Rick Scott 4 years ago for governor, and he got it. Rick Scott just said 2 days ago that he's pro-marriage. I heard this morning that, as a matter of fact, we need prayer, that there's three couples, gay couples, are trying to overturn that right now. Anyway, David Jolly won against Alex Zink. Rick, Republican, run against Alex Zink. Now Charlie Crist, used to be Republican, now Democrat, is trying to take the governorship from Rick Scott. Rick Scott is definitely pro-marriage, and he's anti-marijuana and all that other. So, I mean, the Republicans can win in this area, but, I don't know how to. I'm going to try to get a hold of this guy to come down. Is the I-4 corridor in the churches need to get fired up? I've been fired up since I heard you, since I've been listening to you. The trouble is, if it wasn't for broadcast TV, I would have never known about you. You come out here in my era on what's called Christian Television Network, but you're on like the third channel. And if you don't have broadcast, most people don't know about you. There are people here, but you don't have one radio station, AFR, here in all of Florida. And if people don't run across you or hear about you, I tell everybody I can. But the Christians don't seem to care. I try to get involved politically because of what you say and read what you say, and they just, turn it to ear. I need somebody like this O'Connor to come down here and put up some of this I-4 corner because, like they say down here that elections have been decided and the Republicans failed in this area. That's what they failed when there was presidency because of, I think they ran, the Mormon on purpose because they knew the Christians wouldn't vote for him. That's, I know no proof, but, that's just back in my head.
Yeah.
But,
Well, listen, I appreciate the call, Dwight. Thank you for that. And, as just a reminder, what Dwight was saying there, he's able to watch us on television in the Florida community. There's several other places in the United States where we can be seen on television. We have a Roku channel, by the way. If you got a Roku box, you can pick us up through Roku, AFA channel. You can pick it up right there and watch it through your Roku box. But we also have audio and video streaming at afr.net. You can go to afr.net, click on the button, audio, video streaming, pop right up. We have apps for the iPhone and for the Android and for the iPad. I have people tell me all the time that they just clip their iPhone to the belt, switch on the app, and then they can listen to the program kind of on the move, on the fly, while they're working outside, while they're running errands, all that kind of stuff. And we also have podcasts that you can access, and we upload the segments just virtually as soon as we get them recorded. I'll give Jeff a title. He'll upload the segment with the title. It automatically goes up to our website on YouTube, and you can access. A lot of folks will watch the program via these YouTube segments and the segments that are up on the website after after hours and all that kind of thing. So different ways to access the content here at Focal Point. Now, I do want to talk about this immigration thing just for a moment. Thanks for the call, Dwight. I appreciate it. Number is 888-589-8840 if you want to join the program, 888-589-8840. You know, and Dwight was talking about that David Sink, not David Sink, but David Jolly race against Alex Sink. Alex is a female, but she narrowly lost to Rick Scott for governor in 2010. So she had name ID. She had the Democratic political machine behind her. She held elected office board. David Jolly was an unknown. He had no name ID in that district. He had very little money. He did not have a big machine behind him. What he had was a message. He was dead set against amnesty, and he was dead set against Obamacare. His campaign message was basically twofold: no amnesty and let's repeal Obamacare. That's what he ran on, and he won. He just came out of absolute nowhere. This is what David Bratt did in Virginia, running against Eric Cantor. He ran on an anti-amnesty, anti-Obamacare message, and he unseated Eric Cantor. I mean, by 11 points. That's a bloodbath politically. So it was a stunning upset. We'll probably have David Bratt back on this program in the not too distant future. So again, the notion that the Republican base wants amnesty, just absurd. And if the Republican Party doesn't get its mind right on this, then they're just going to give evangelicals and conservatives another reason to stay home. Now, you know, you and I are clear that the problems on the border are the responsibility of Barack Obama. This whole business with the DREAM Act, this is what's enticing people to make this journey, to make this trip. It's what's enticing parents to put their kids on that train called the Beast, strap them to the roof, put them in the hands of coyotes. I mean, something like a third of the girls, the underage girls that make this trip from Central America, are abused en route. A third of them. Some of them are taken into sex slavery, sex trafficking. I mean, it's horrible what's being done. And we ought to move heaven and earth to stop this from happening. Well, the most humane thing we could do would be to close off the border. Just seal it up, shut it down, to keep these unaccompanied children, 378 of them under the age of 2, that the Border Patrol apprehended. And by the way, 70% of Border Patrol agents right now are tied up doing daycare. 70% of the Border Patrol, instead of being at the border to catch the bad guys, to intercept the cartels, stop the cartels, apprehend the Islamists that are flooding across our border, they are stuck changing diapers. They're heating up formula. They're providing daycare. 70% of them. It's absolutely obscene what's going on here. And all of this is President Obama's fault, because without any authorization, he said, we are going to delay action on children. It's called the DACA, Delayed Action on Childhood Arrivals. You get here as a child, we're going to defer action on you. We're going to delay action. We're not going to repatriate you. We're not going to send you back home to your native land. You get to stay. And that's and that word got out. Newspapers down in Central America talking about it. That's where this flood is coming from. Now, you would not understand the role that President Obama's played in this if you depended on the networks for your news in perspective. I'm looking at Newsbusters today, Jeffrey Dickens. All 3 networks played clips of Barack Obama on Monday blaming the GOP for the border crisis, but they have been reluctant to cite the president's own failure to enforce immigration law as a cause for thousands of immigrants illegally crossing the border. From June 8 through the morning of July 1, the 3 networks, ABC, CBS, NBC, offered a total of 45 stories on the border crisis. You know how many of them, 45 stories, you know how many of them brought up Obama's immigration policies as a possible cause or contributing factor? 5. That's 11%. 11% of the network coverage of this even brought up Obama's immigration policies as a possible cause. Now, here is Luis Gutierrez, clip number 4. We kind of joke sometime about the messianic complex that President Obama has and that others have attributed to him. But listen to Luis Gutierrez. He's a big-time open borders amnesty guy. He's the guy that pulled a red card on the House floor, telling the Republican Party to go home, go to the locker room. We don't want you. You've been red carded because you won't get aboard the amnesty train. Here's what he had to say, and listen to how he describes the magical, mystical, messianic powers of Barack Obama.
But look, when you take a humanitarian crisis on the border and you demonize and you mock children, then it's time for us to simply issue the red card and say we're going to move on. So here's what my point of view is. If you want to come back and discuss this, fine. But in the interim period, I believe the President of the United States has already in statute, in the law, the ability to heal and put in a safe harbor millions of undocumented immigrants while the Congress of the United States finally decides that it's going to take action.
So that's Luis Gutierrez. President Obama has, quote, the ability to heal. It kind of reminds you, of what President Obama said, that we'll look back on this day as the day when the planet began to heal and the rise of the oceans began to slow. Now, Charles Krauthammer, clip number 5, I think this makes absolutely perfectly good sense. We've said from the very beginning, my position on immigration is we don't need immigration reform. We need immigration enforcement, and that begins with building a double-layer security fence along the entire southern border. Now, it can be done. We built the Empire State Building in 17 months in the middle of the Depression. We built the Golden Gate Bridge in the middle of the Depression in about the same amount of time. We do not lack the capacity to do it. We lack only the will. So here's Charles Krauthammer talking about the same issue.
All right, here's what I've been on for years. You start a fence. It's very simple. People say, oh, fences don't work. You make a ladder. Well, then you build 2 fences, triple-strand fences. San Diego did that in the mid-90s, and within a decade, the illegal immigration rate at that point was reduced by 90%, and people ended up going through other places like Arizona. If fences don't work, why is there one around the White House? If they don't work, why is it that the Israeli fence, which separates Israel from the West Bank, has cut down terror attacks within Israel by 99%? Fences work. Yes, there are parts of the border where you can't have a fence, fine. So you don't have it in those areas, and you do heavy patrols. But there's no reason why a rich country like us cannot put a fence across a double fence, a triple fence, and patrol it all the time. That would have a tremendous impact.
That's just absolute common sense. Build a fence. Fences work. That's why you have a fence around the White House. That's why some of us have fences around our yards to keep critters out and to discourage bandits. That's why we have fences. They actually do work. Now, here's that piece talking about Border Patrol being nannies. Breitbart, Texas spoke with Hector Garza, a local Border Patrol agent and spokesman for the National Border Patrol Council Local 2455. He stated that approximately 70% of the Border Patrol agents in the area were no longer on the line protecting or patrolling the border, but rather assigned to provide care for unaccompanied minors and incomplete family units. So now what we have, ladies and gentlemen, is the most expensive and the most poorly trained daycare providers in the history of the United States. Focal Point, AFR Talk. Be right back.